Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So in this video we're going to look into the second chapter, which is data plotting. Okay, for the chapter overview, this is what we will learn in this chapter. First, we are going to look into some basics of the 2D and 3D plots, and then we are going to use the plot function to edit the plot and setting axis limit, and also to create multiple plots on the same axis, and also we look at how we can divide our figure window into a few subplots. Then we will also look at some other plotting functions such as histogram, plot y, semilog x, semilog y, pi, and scatter plot. Okay, so the two-dimensional plots, which is also known as the XY plot, is the most commonly used plot by the scientists and also the engineers. The plot require arrays of data, in this case X and Y, to do the plotting. The independent variable is usually called X and the dependent variable is usually called Y. These two arrays, the X and Y, must be of the same length. So when you have successfully created and defined the variable X and Y and then use the plot command, the resulting plot that you will get is this plot shown here with a solid blue line as the default setting. The figure window will pop up every time you are creating a new plot. This plot can be saved with any of the standard picture extensions, and we will look at this later. So how to use the plot command? Okay, so it is very easy to use it. You can follow this syntax. Just type plot X and Y to plot X and Y arrays against each other. If you only have Y array or X array, you can also use this kind of syntax. Okay, so usually when use this syntax, if the horizontal data increments by 1. Okay, so look at this example. So for the first one, so in this chapter I'm going to use the editor file to type the MATLAB commands. First, because it is easier for us to edit the files, and also second, because it is easier when we want to rerun our plot or our graphs later. Okay, so let's try this simple example. So first we have to define vector t. So after you have defined the t vector, next we create vector v, which is 2 multiplied with t, and then finally use the plot command, plot t and v. So when you click run section, you will get this straight line plot. Okay, you can try the other one. Okay, as usual, you have to define vector t from 0 until 30 and define vector v. This time it was 3 plus 0.2 multiplied with t. Then when you create plot with V, you will get this, but you can only this single vector as variable if the horizontal data is increased by 1. Okay, next we are going to look at this example. Example 1. So you have two sets of data. The first column is the independent variable, which is time. The units is in seconds. And then you have the dependent variables, which is the distance measured in feet. Okay, so you have to first define these two vectors and then finally use plot t distance. Okay, so to define vector t, you can use the colon operator because the increment size is 2 and the final value is 18. And then for the distance, you have to enter it manually one by one. And then finally, you call the plot command and then plot variable t and variable distance. And then you can run this section. Okay. Next, if you use the plot command with a single matrix, okay, this I have shown you previously, but this time when it is increased by 1, but you can also use the plot command with a single matrix. But if you do that, MATLAB will plot the value versus the index number. Okay, it is just the same like the previous one. So if you define vector z as 1, 5, 3 and 2, and then you ask MATLAB to plot z, what happen is it will plot the z values. Okay, z values is 1 as versus the index number, so the y-axis here is the corresponding index number. So the first element is value 1, the second element, the value for second element is 5, the value for third element is 3, and the value for fourth element is 2. Okay, so it will plot the x-axis, sorry, it will plot the z values. Okay, the y-axis is the z values versus the element number. Okay, 1, 2, 3 and 4 is the element number. Okay, while do the plotting, you can also on the grid lines. Okay, so it have a different variety. So let's see. This is when you click the grid on. Okay, you can do the minor grid, or you can close, or you can off the grid. Let's look at next slide. Okay, so MATLAB, the plot command only plot the x and y array on a new figure window. For example, like this. Okay, so this is not very helpful for the user because we need to know what is the x-axis, what is the label, what are the units for y-axis, what is the graph title. Okay, so we can edit and format this plot using these two methods. The first one is the MATLAB commands, and the second one is by using the plot editor. Okay, so we'll look at how we can add labels, title, legend, and how we can change the line color, data markers, line types, and also change the axis limits. So basically this is how you specify the color, data markers, and line type options. Okay, it is specified as a third input argument, which is a string. The order of options doesn't matter, okay, but remember, if you don't specify any style to use, MATLAB will use the default size. MATLAB will use the default style, which is the blue color, marker, and align style none. This is the list of options for you to do the plot formatting. Okay, you can get this by typing help plot on command window. Okay, here is the indicator and the meaning. For example, B for blue, G for green. Okay, let's see how we can use this to format our plot. Okay, first you should know how you can specify the labels and titles. Okay, to insert axis label, just type the x label command, and then followed by the input in string. Okay, so whatever that you insert inside the quotation, inside this quotation sign will get displayed. Okay, for x you type x label, for y axis you type y labels. It is similar syntax for adding title. And then MATLAB also allow you to determine the minimum and maximum axis values if none are specified. So MATLAB will automatically determine the minimum and maximum axis value if none are specified, but sometimes we want to specify our own minimum and maximum axis value, so we can use this syntax. Okay, so axis, here is the minimum x value, maximum x value, followed by minimum y and maximum y. Axis type will get rid of excess white space on edges of plot, while the axis equal will fix the distortion issue for circular plots. Let's look at this example here. So we have this is from the plot distance previously, but this time we want to add a grid. On the grid, add title, labeling, and a y label. So you can pause this video and then do this example by typing this command. I will just run it here. Okay, so notice that every time you want to indicate for example Hollis, if you want to add an apostrophe to a title, you must enter the single quote twice. Otherwise, MATLAB will interpret the single apostrophe as the end of the string. This is another example of adding label for x-axis, y-axis, and also the title. This time it will create a butterfly graph. Okay, you can try this out. I also have this example, which is a donut figures that you can try out. Just make sure you enter the equation for creating vector x and a y carefully. So this time we use the line specifier color. G is for green, hash is for the hexagram shape data marker. Okay, just run. So this is the donut figure. Okay, sometimes we might want to improve our labels. Okay, that means that sometimes you want to include the Greek letters. Okay, so you can do that by inserting a backslash. Okay, backslash is different than the slash. Okay, before the name of the letter. For example, we can create the alpha, beta, gamma by typing the backslash right before the alphabet name. Okay, to insert superscripts and subscripts, you can use the curly brackets. Okay, like this curly brackets. Okay, so for example, you want to write the x square, x symbol sign to the power of, and the number 2 was enclosed using the curly brackets. If you want to create a subscript, use an underscore symbol. Okay, let's look at example 6 where we specify the line style, markers and colors for this data. So define vector x and a vector y. Okay, y you have to enter it manually, and then right after the two input argument for plot command, okay, the purple font, okay, enclosed inside the code signs is for you to specify the line style, markers and also color. Okay, this colon for example indicates that we want to use the dotted line style. O is for circle data types, and K is for black color. Okay, example is like this. So you will get this figure. This is how you specify line style, markers and colors for multiple lines. Okay, to insert multiple lines, okay, we just insert the multiple arguments inside the plot command. Okay, like this is the first set, this is the second set, and this is the third set. Okay, so each set of this line had different line style, color and marker. Okay, you don't have to remember because all these indicator you can get from the help document here. Okay, like this. So when you do this command, okay, when you run it, okay, you will get this figure. Okay, now let's look at axis scaling. Okay, by default, MATLAB will automatically scale each plot to completely fill the graph. However, we might want to specify a different axis. Okay, sometimes when we're leaving spaces, okay, like this, it will help our figure looks nice. Okay, so we can do that by using this axis command. Okay, so we will use our previous input command from previous example, and then we'll change the axis. Okay, so from 0 to 11 for the x-axis, and then from 0 to 100 for the y-axis. Okay, so this is the figure that we have changed the axis limits. So axis limit will override the automatic scaling And then we can also add a legend. Okay, legend to display the color coded legend for multiple plot, and also text box, but it have to be in strings, and the 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 data, the text that you input as legend should be in same orders as the plots that were created. Okay, so if the first plot xy, okay, is the legend for line 1, line 2 is the legend for this x and y to y plot, and line 3 is the legend for x and y over 2 plot. Okay, and then you can insert text box. Okay, text box is the here. Okay, the text that is side the figure space, the white space, the label plots with text command. Okay, this is how you indicate the location. Text 100 means L ni will start at coordinate x1 and y coordinate 100. Okay, and then X label, Y label, and title, you can insert it just like what I have shown you before. Okay, and then we also have another method that we can use to format plot. Okay, except either than use the command like this. Okay, like legend, text, X label, this is the MATLAB commands. So for example, you have this plot. Okay, you can edit it by the plot editor. So the plot editor is here. So every time when the figure window is pop out, okay, you can click this arrow to edit your plot. Okay, so with this you can change the label, change the title, and you can insert this, you can change all these. Okay, you can also add other annotation. For example, you want to add an arrow, or you want to insert line. Okay, you can do that, but okay, all these annotations that you just did interactively will lose once you rerun your program. Okay, so to avoid that, you have to make sure you save your figure. Okay, save it as figure, MATLAB figure, somewhere else. Okay, so now I will close this figure, and then I will run the M file again. So what happened is I will get the original file. I'll just lose all the annotations that I just add before. So let's see. Okay, but the annotations is appear here on the figure file. Okay, so that's the difference between the command and also the edit plot menu. So the edit plot menu, okay, for example here, this is an example where you can edit the axis properties. Okay, like this, and then you can change the inspector here. Okay, like the example, change the data aspect ratio mode. Okay, so this is the default, the automatic setting. So I want to change it from auto to manual. Okay, so this is the setting for the manual. Okay, so You can explore the inspector and you can change. There are many settings that you can try to change, but usually I just leave it as the default. Okay. Okay, I think that's all for the first part.